Okay, once we understand all the terminology that goes along with the polynomials, and we understand degrees and exponents and all that kind of good stuff, then we can start combining like terms and making sure that we simplify expressions as much as possible. Now, a like term would be a term that has the exact same variable part. So here we have an example, and I chose this specifically because of the fractions, and usually everybody hates fractions, so we're going to try and get through this. Now, when I say like terms, I mean that if we're going to combine this 3/20 x cubed with anything else, it can only be combined with another x cubed. So looking at our problem here, we don't have any other x cubes, so we can't combine that with anything else. It doesn't have anything else like it. Now, normally we write things in what's called descending order, and we're going to talk about that more in another video, but especially to keep things kind of straight and making sure that you've got everything. Then after the x cubed, then normally we would say x squareds. So our x squared here is a 6x squared, and there are no other x squareds to combine that with. So I'm just going to put plus 6x squared. Now notice, as I'm done with each of these, I'm marking them out so that I kind of can keep track of what I have combined, what I've used, and what I've not used. So we have an x cubed, an x squared. Hopefully you can see the pattern. Next would come a plane x. So for plane x's, we have negative 3/10 x, and we have negative 7/20 x. So I'm going to come out here to the side, because in order to be able to combine those, these are like terms, they're both just plain x's, but in order to be able to combine them, we have to have a common denominator here to work with these fractions. So our common denominator in this case would be a 20. So 10 times 2 would be 20. 3 times 2 would be 6. So I'm changing negative 3/10 into an equivalent fraction, which would be negative 6/20 x minus 7/20 x. I didn't have to change this one because it already was over that common denominator. So when I put those two together, negative 6 minus 7 would be negative 13 over 20x. So when I combine those, we get negative 13/20 x, and now we've used those terms. Lastly, we have our plain numbers. So in this case, it would be positive, let me erase that off of there, positive 1/10 and a negative 1/5. And again, we can combine those because those are just plain numbers, so they're like terms. But in order to be able to combine them, we have to have a common denominator. In this case, that would be a 10. So I'll have 1/10 minus 5 times 2 is 10, so 1 times 2 is 2. And now 1/10 minus 2/10 would be negative 1/10. So when I combine those, we get negative 1/10. And this is our simplified version of that problem. Now with the next one, we've got all kinds of weird different letters and variables and stuff going on here. So we just have to combine what we can. Let's start off with our first term here. We've got 14y cubed. Look to see if we have any other y cubes that we can put that with. And we don't, so this is just 14y cubed. Now, again, because we've got all kinds of different letters, we're not going to be able to talk about the descending order like we did last time. So let's just go in order. We have next a number, negative 6. We can combine that with this negative 10 to put those together as a negative 16. And now we have an a squared b squared term. Well, just because this one is b squared a squared, that doesn't mean that they're any different. We could rearrange that and have the exact same thing. So plus 3 of those minus 19 of those is minus 16 of those a squared b squareds. And that is how we would combine them.